Welcome to the Secondary Break Season 2, Episode 3. We're rolling. We're rolling. If you guys are just finding us, my name is Graham Bunn. I'm a former Division I point guard, played overseas for a little bit in Germany. Got my brother-in-law and my two-guard on this little show recap podcast, all things UNC basketball, Mr. Zach Talitsky. It is the Secondary Break. We give you the secondary takes on all the game recaps, and UNC takes down American last night, 107-55. The score doesn't tell the entire story. That's why we here. Good morning, man. How you feeling? Big day for you, big day for me, but it's always good to be back in the booth talking UNC hoops.
Feeling good. Enjoyed the game last night. Looking forward to the Dogs Tennessee this evening.
Big game.
Must win for the Dogs, but we're here to talk about Carolina hoops. But yeah, it was fun game. Took us a little while to get rolling, but once we did, a lot to enjoy and a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wonderful things that came out of that game, and I'm a big proponent of game reps, but there's just one glaringly I don't want to say obvious, but glaringly a rock or something that we need to get over. I couldn't wait to get on here and talk to you about. Even last night, it must be late on the East Coast. I'm in California. Zach's in North Carolina, in God's country. And I'm starting to get really worried about RJ Davis. And as a former player, 1,000%, I don't think he's a worse player than he was last year. I think he's probably even better player than he was last year. But you can't measure the weight of what kind of pressure people put on themselves. And to recreate what was a historic year for RJ Davis last year, it's got to be a lot of pressure. And just to see him shoot the ball the way he's shooting it, as much of a good shooter as he is, and he's getting incredible looks, I'm starting to stress, man. I want him to come out of this. I love RJ Davis.
I'm not stressed yet. If there could be any player, honestly, if there could be any player to struggle early in the year, if I had to pick one, I would pick him.
Of course,
just because he has so much confidence, so much history. He's an experienced player. I don't think it's going to get into his head. Mm-hmm. So I feel okay with it. I think he's going to come out of it. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we're going to have a stretch here in a couple of games once the Maui starts, where in order for us to do much there, I think we're going to need RJ to be RJ, and I think he will. I think he's going to light up that little gym. He's got some good sight lines. He's going to find himself, and we're going to be okay. But yeah. 1 for 7 with the looks he had isn't great. And these aren't like shot clock is winding down. He's trying to make a play off the dribble kind of looks. So there are a couple flare screen from Cadeau and a couple others where you're like, oh man, he makes that like 90% of the time. But yeah, I think it'll come.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was 1 for 7 last night, 1 for 7 in the Kansas game. Even dating back to the Bama game, it was a really poor. So 3 out of the last 4 games that he suited up for Carolina have been a struggle a little bit. And again, RJ Davis is one of my favorite Tar Heels that's ever put on the uniform, and that's saying a lot because Carolina's had a lot of great players. So part of that is the fan in me just wanting to see my guy cook. So I'm glad that you got a positive spin on it. I do think the Hawaii-Dayton game will be great games. Obviously, Bama loses to Purdue last night. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I was one of the idiots that watched the Tyson fight. But that's a conversation for a different podcast. I would love to see what Bama Purdue looked like, but I am hoping that we find and continue to make progress in areas that we need to gain for the December 4th Bama game in Chapel Hill. And I think Hawaii-Dayton, especially the Dayton game, is going to show us a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is clearly not a complete team yet, and there's still some things that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
But you see glimpses of it. You see the confidence that Cadeau is playing with. And again, he has some smaller guards on him last night, but like he was the best player on the floor and was just dominating on both ends. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Seth, obviously, when he gets going downhill and on the fast break and his increased confidence, you see Drake Powell the confidence growing as he gets more minutes on the floor, and you just see what he can do on both ends. I mean, 11 boards, 3 blocks. You had the two-handed snatch, we just took that guy's soul, and then that other two-handed block he had
two
was
of them.
maybe even better.
Yeah, he had 2 of them. But the catch was the Akeem Olajuwon. Just give me
I'll
that.
have some of that, thank you.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that's really disrespectful. If you ever played basketball, that's the last thing you ever want to happen is someone to catch your shot. Like that's people that don't play basketball say, oh, I never want to get dunked on. Getting dunked on happens all the time. Someone catching your shot and like dribbling it up the floor, that's a different level. That's when you do one of these for the coach. Hey, come get me, man.
I'm a little tired, coach.
Yeah, come get me, man. It's not my hip. So I have my hip. I slipped.
Yeah. So you know, we're just scratching the surface with him, and so you can see what he's going to bring. Still trying to figure out, I think, how to get the most out of our bigs. You know, we basically are running a 5-out, not posting up anymore. I think figuring out how to get them involved. We had some nice pick and roll action where we were able to get them rolling to the basket last night. But yeah, this team I feel like is still figuring it out. But given the schedule that we have early, we're not going to have that much time. So we've got to really tighten it up in the next 10 days.
Yeah, that's why I was a little disappointed. I know it's probably precautionary, but I really believe in game reps, and I thought last night would have been a wonderful game for Ian.
Agreed.
To get some valuable game reps, but you know, injuries happen, and the coaching staff knows better than I. But we need to get him up to speed. If we really want to compete in these bigger games, he's going to have to be a contributor. So it was great to see Drake, you know, get more minutes and get to contribute and get to show what he's capable of. You can see the raw talent, as you say. You know, there's some polished things that he needs to work on. I'm hoping we get 2 years out of him, but, you know, by the looks of the mock drafts, we're not. But
I made the same note. I was like, man, I love Drake Powell already. If we could get 2 years out of him, oh man, he would be a monster, but it's probably not going to happen. And in some ways, I think Kenny Williams said this last year or maybe over the summer on the podcast. Yeah. We do need some of these highly ranked guys to go one and done in terms of long-term recruiting. Yeah. But I would still love to have him for 2 years because he would be a nightmare next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively he needs another year if he wants to go in and contribute immediately in the NBA. I think the offensive game, you know, is something that the NBA stresses. Defensively,
strength,
he could probably
I mean, he's wiry strong already, but you could see him putting on 10, 15 pounds easy over another offseason and just 3-and-D monster.
Yeah, the deflections and the little things that he does that don't show up, you know, you have to watch the game to see it. I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and it was talking about, you know, players in the past, you know, referencing Tyson or whatever. You kind of had to be there to understand the real impact. Like sometimes stats just don't tell the whole story. Drake Powell is one of those guys that has impact on a game where he does things within the game, and if you didn't see it, you would never know. You know, the deflections and just kind of like the disruption that he causes on defense, even the blocks that he doesn't get after grabbing someone's shot out of midair. It's a little intimidating. Guys get in the paint, and instead of going up with it, they circle around, they find a kick out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would love to see 2 years of it, but I don't know if we're going to get it.
And these like come from behind blocks where he tracks from behind and gets tips. You know, when you're driving to the hoop and you get one of those blocked, the next time you're driving, you know, you may pump fake or hesitate, which then allows defenses to recover and contest that shot. So absolutely. They also had him guarding their point guard, who I think was their best player. And he was pretty small and quick. So that just shows how much confidence that Hubert has in his ability to stay in front of like very quick players. They used his length to disrupt. So you could see different matchups over the course of the year where we'd bring him in 1 through 3, you know, maybe even 1 through 4, where you have to figure out who's going to guard Cooper Flagg. Is that Withers? Is that him? But yeah, I mean, he gives us a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, just to piggyback, Seth Trimble had an incredible track down block last night, and I made a note watching the game. He's vastly becoming one of my favorite players on the roster. I mean, I'm just so thankful that whatever conversations were had, where he said, okay, I'm going to get a fair shake and I'm going to get an opportunity to contribute on a very, very high level, which he is. And I think he played himself. I don't think anyone had him in the starting lineup. I don't think anybody had us playing this kind of small ball. But the way he's played is undeniable. And I think his impact, if you watch this short season, has been immeasurable. And you can't, it's hard not to cheer for a guy that forces your hand and you can't not put him in the game,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the situation behind it with him leaving and then coming back, or not leaving, but going into the portal
Yeah.
and coming back and deciding, hey, I'm going to stick with this old school and I'm going to earn my minutes and put in work over the summer. And
Yeah.
then to see that being rewarded by the coaching staff and again, we've said this before, if he was doing this for another team this year, I'd be heartbroken because I love his game. And
I'd be sick.
he had 6 boards last night, which we're going to need him to rebound if he's going to play the 3, which is essentially what he's doing. And so he contributed there as well.
I mean, he hit a 3, which again, I'm a little bit, excuse me, I'm a little bit concerned about our 3-point shooting. We were at home, and off games happen, but again, we go, I think 7 of 22, and one of those was Mayo at the end of the game, so it was really 6 of 21 during meaningful minutes. He was one of the guys that knocked one in. I think he hit the second. Cade hit the first, and kind of broke the lid or broke the seal on the rim, but he's become a viable threat. Like, you used to be able to play him in the paint when he was at the 3-point line. You really got to close out to him. So big ups and a lot of respect to him for his offseason and really dialing in the jump shot, where that was something that kind of hindered his ability to be on the floor because he became a liability, where now he's a threat. He's not only not a liability, he's a threat. You got to make sure you got to account for him on the wing.
Yeah, I think Cadeau and him, they're so quick and so good attacking that I don't know really what percentage they need to shoot, call it low 30s.
Yeah, low 30s.
But you shoot low 30s and you have to close out, and then that just makes them step quicker. You just don't want people to be able to sag off 5 feet in critical moments, and like that. Those they have to make, and you got to punish that. And I think they will this year. I think both of them will. They seem to be shooting it with confidence. Obviously RJ, normally he's going to shoot 4 of 7, given the looks he had. So then those percentages would be higher. Jalen didn't attempt one. I'd still love to see us pick and pop a little bit more with him.
Agreed.
And then Withers had the one from the corner that he missed. But you can already see the impact of him making threes. There were several times where they had to close out hard when he was in the corner. He can drive by, and he had that nasty dunk on the drive. So, just shooting a respectable percentage, even if the attempts are down, it forces people to close out hard and opens everything else up.
Yeah, there was a few moments in the game, 2 of which flip-flop for me. So the first was, obviously Withers took a massive 3 in a massive moment in the Sweet 16 game against Alabama, which both of us were like, okay, he's open. I get it. For me, I won't speak for you. For me, I would like someone else to take that shot in that moment in time, especially
last year, because he didn't really play that role last year.
Right. So last night they were like, oh, they're giving him his credit of becoming a better shooter, and he's already made 5 threes on the year. And they were like, yeah, he was 4 of 20 all of last season. And I think that I was so heartbroken when we lost to Alabama that I didn't even realize, man, he's only made 4 all season. Why would you take that shot? So that was a hard moment for me. The funny moment was there was a loose ball and Cade Tyson was scrambling, and it was a hustle play, and the ball went out of bounds. And one of the commentators was like, that's the kind of energy you want to see out of Cade Tyson. And the other announcer goes, "Nah, come on, man. The energy you want to see is him knocking down open shots. Like, I get it. It's cool, the whole loose ball thing, but Carolina fans want to see this guy knock down 40% of his open threes. That's the kind of energy we're looking for." And I really appreciated the truth that guy was speaking.
Yeah, especially because typically when he's on the floor, he's like the slowest player on the floor. I mean, again, no knock on him. We just have some quick guys, so I expect a lot of other guys to be quicker to the loose balls than him.
You just normally don't hear the announcers go, "Yeah, look, the hustle thing, that's great, and we want to see that. That's fine." But I honestly, if we're picking and choosing, I need him to knock down open threes.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see him make a couple. I mean, it's pretty clear what his role needs to be. He needs to stand in the corner, and he needs to be ready to shoot.
Yep.
And he almost needs to ignore the closeout. I mean, he's 6'8".
Yeah.
And so it's like, just be ready to shoot. I mean, our guards are going to drive. You're going to get open looks. Just catch it and shoot it. Ignore the closeout unless they're right on top of you.
Yeah.
And then knock it down at 50%, and you can earn minutes. I mean, that's the role. But you're going to have to make 50% of those open ones.
I know this is going to sound negative, and we keep this show as positive as possible. And Cade's on Carolina, so I'm pulling for him. I want him to do well. It's like, I work in country music, and people always ask me about artists that are coming up, and like, oh, what's a piece of advice that you ever get? Like, I had a conversation with an artist that's playing one of his first big shows the other day, and the point of it was, man, those people paid their money to go have a good time. No one's in there hoping you fail. So I love Cade Tyson. I want him to be the best version of Cade Tyson that he can be. But if I'm being honest, and we're sharing our concerns about the season, if Ian's healthy, I just don't know if Cade Tyson's not knocking down threes, where we're going to find minutes.
Agreed, especially with the development of Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there could be situations, zone buster, or, we've got to, stretch the floor or something like that, situations where he can be helpful. But, the only way he earns those minutes is he's got to be lights out shooter. And so far,
4 of 7. I'm looking for 4 of 7 with the looks that he gets. And then how little we are asking of him on defense. We hide him on defense for the most part. So it's not like, there's some guys, Seth Trimble, God bless his heart, he works really hard on defense. It usually matches up with their best wing player. Then he's given us, all types of effort on the offensive end. So, I'm with you. I think it comes down, and I know basketball is a complicated sport, and there's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people don't see. Make or break is going to be his efficiency behind the three-point line.
Yeah, well, my note in the first half, and this is a bit harsh, but I'll read it anyway, is Tyson can't put up quality minutes against America and no impact in any phase.
Yeah.
Now, in the second half, it was better.
Yeah.
But that was the first half. I was like, man, this is not an ACC caliber team.
Right.
If you can't impact the game here, it's going to be very hard to impact the game later in the season. So,
agreed.
But, I also appreciate the fact that, the psychology of trying to adjust, trying to fit in, figure out what a good shot is. At least he started to, I think, settle in the second half and make shots. So encouraged, not super encouraged yet, but encouraged. And so, hopefully there's going to be some big moments and big games down the stretch where we need some threes and he knocks them down. But
yeah,
I'm with you, with Drake and Ian needing minutes, it may be hard to find them.
Yeah. I mean, meaningful games. I'm not knocking American at all, but these kids that come out and people are like, oh, well, it's still, the rim doesn't change. That is true. But to your point, the windows of error and the margins of error get smaller and smaller the higher and higher you go. And I'm speaking through experience. I had a lot of really good games early on in my career at Bowling Green, and most of them came against lower caliber teams where, oh, all right, well, I can't get away with that when we go and play Marquette. I can't get away with this. And so watching it, one of the notes that I made, it's not a negative note, but I'm all for kids celebrating and having a good time. But Washington, sometimes I'm like, man, relax, like calm down. This is American, where he's just going crazy and telling, this is my house, and doing all of this exhibition. Like, hey, man, you're playing American and you're the biggest guy on the floor. We need that kind of performance in a game. I'll take it against Dayton. In the Kansas game, he's celebrating a dunk, and Hunter Dickinson gets back and establishes low post positioning because he's beating his chest to the bench, and then he gets back late and he gets a foul and has to go out of the game. So, being selfish, I would hope that we keep it in perspective of like, we haven't achieved anything yet.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Taking the other side of that a little bit, I was happy he was showing that kind of emotion, because to me, the knock on him has never really been the talent. It's been the drive and the energy and the passion, seemingly, on the floor. And so I like him getting excited when he dunks. And again, I get it. It's American. The game's out of hand. You want to do that.
The two kids down there were like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah,
So,
right,
he
right.
he struggled through it. He gets it up off the glass and it's an and one. Great finish. Love it for sure. But that's, I guess at the time I was like, come on, man, like calm it down. Like it's American.
Yeah. I was mixed. I was like 50-50. Part of me is like, I don't really care who it's against. Like but he's got to have that mentality all the time.
Yeah.
Which is they can't guard me. Like this is who I am, and I'm going to contribute to this team. But again, he had a pretty good line. 6 of 6 and 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Need more than 3 rebounds out of him.
Yeah.
So that's concerning in 18 minutes. But offensively, at least, I think that was a big night for him.
Now, on the flip side, I will say, and again, I'm not for the over celebration and moments. It's like, scoring a touchdown and like just doing a whole crazy thing when the game's out of hand and over. But I will say this, part of me was relieved of like, okay, he's been there for 2 years. He's played behind Bacot, probably felt like he was pushing a boulder up a mountain just to try to get on the floor. So maybe that was a moment of like, look, this is my time. Like I'm here. I've stayed loyal to the program. I'm working hard. I'm going to show everybody what I'm capable of. So more so for that in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe he's just celebrating that this is a time where he gets the opportunity he's been working for 2 years. That's a lot of work to not see any residuals. So I'm okay with it there. But like for me thinking he's celebrating against American, maybe he's just celebrating the opportunity.
That's right. And I think watching his confidence grow is going to be really, really important. I mean, we need him confident.
Need him. Yeah, definitely.
And I know he missed that 3 late in the game against Kansas, but I'm still happy if you take the long view that he feels confident enough to take that shot in that spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty happy with his game. Again, on the boards, need more from him, but overall, pretty impressed. Cadeau, I thought, I don't know. I mean, again, it's American, so it's hard to calibrate with the competition, but one of the best games of his career. I mean, 4 steals.
The point guard was an all defensive player in their league. So I mean, that guy's a good basketball player.
Yeah, and Cadeau, I thought, got just about whatever he wanted. It says, his line says 4 steals. It seemed like he had more than that and was really, really active and trying to rip the ball. Last year, he had a lot of foul trouble. He only had 2 fouls. It's good. It seems like he's learning how to defend without getting in foul trouble. The 8 assists, could have easily had a double-double. Only 1 turnover. So it's pretty darn good ratio.
Yeah.
I loved how he attacked the double teams. There are a couple times like we would do the high pick and roll, and then they were playing to trap. And so he split that high double team at least 3 or 4 times. One time he got in the lane and then threw the lob up for the dunk. I think it was a Drake. Yeah,
it was a Drake. Yeah,
yeah. And then a couple times he'd get in the lane, get a lane touch, and then spray it out for threes. And so his aggressiveness against that high pick and roll trap was really impressive. And then he also had some beautiful pocket passes, in that same motion. And I tell you what, our bigs, if you will set a good screen and roll hard, you are going to get layups all day between RJ and Trimble and Cadeau. I mean, that's all I'd be practicing right now if I was a big on Carolina. I'm going to set a good screen and I'm going to roll because those guys are going to find me.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, you should be getting 5 layups a game if you're one of our bigs.
I was also impressed with Jalen Washington's ability. I'm sure Van Lubin has it, but I didn't see it last night. But Jalen's ability to set the screen, roll, catch it, and then decipher, okay, the corner guy is sinking in, I'm going to kick it to Cade. Or the corner guy is sinking in. So as a big, first of all, you set a good screen. You try not to get the moving screen, which is way more challenging than people think because it's more of when someone sees a moving screen, they're like, oh, why didn't that guy just stay still? Well, it's difficult if the guy with the ball doesn't wait on the screen. And I've been guilty of that in my life. I've had bigs come to me and be like, yo, man, you're putting me in a bad spot because you're not waiting for me to get set before you start dribbling this way. So I'm either going to set a half ass screen, excuse my language, or 2, going to get called for moving because I'm really trying to get contact. So Jalen's ability to set the screen, not get the offensive foul, roll, catch the ball, and then make a quick decision of, do I try to score? Do I put it on the floor, or do I kick it out to 3? I was really impressed by that. So I'm with you. Hopefully they're just repping that in practice, especially with the guards that we have.
Agreed. He also had a couple where he put the ball on the floor. It wasn't just a catch and layup.
Yeah.
He put the ball on the floor,
the finger roll,
avoided somebody, and then made a move. And you're right, and made that secondary read to the shooter in the corner. So that's really our post offense right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just trying to throw the ball in down low. I'd like to see us do a little bit more where he gets the ball like on the elbow, because he's such a good mid-range shooter.
Mid post.
Yeah.
12 to 15, let him Sigma face up, because he has such a nice touch. I'd love to see him get 3 or 4 of those where it's his option to just raise up and shoot, because I think that's something he excels in.
Yeah, I agreed.
My last thing is, and I'll let you go, it is Saturday, and you've been working all week, so bless your heart, you're working again on Saturday morning, is the schedule. I just wish we had, this is going to be, we don't play for another week, so it's going to be, I guess, 3 games in 2 weeks, but we're waiting a whole nother week to get another game under our belts. I wish we were in the 2 game a week space of the season, but I guess it gives Ian a few more days to get healthy, James Brown a few more days to get healthy, and maybe we can roll out to Hawaii with a full squad. What are your thoughts on that? Because they're 3-0. I haven't seen any of their games, but they're 3-0. I'll pull up who they've beaten. Looks like they beat Light Pacific. Not sure. They beat San Jose State by 11, and they beat Pacific by 10. So, so 3-0.
Yeah, don't know much about Hawaii yet. I'll try to research before our next one. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind having a week here to practice. And I think in this stage of the season, particularly with some of our young guys, it is important to get some reps. Hawaii is a good warm-up, hopefully, for the Maui. And then the Maui, assuming we win some games, hopefully, what is that, 3 or 4 games in a week? Mm-hmm. So, we should get a bunch of good game repetition coming up next week or a week out. So I think it's coming, and we could probably use the practice. We're seeing what people are trying to do to us. We're seeing what's working, what's not working. So I'm really excited for the Maui. I love it when we're out there. It's such a fun tournament to watch. Doesn't that usually fall over like Thanksgiving week?
It does.
Yeah, now, so it always makes my Thanksgiving week so much more fun when we're out in Maui, and especially when we play well and get the finals or win.
I got a chance to play at Hawaii when I was at Bowling Green, and we beat Hawaii at Hawaii, and it was a wonderful trip. But it's a lot of travel, and you do feel it was challenging for me. I can't speak for anyone else. It was challenging for me to catch up with the jet lag. So hopefully we go a few days early. It is a lot of fun to practice out there. Like you're walking around, the weather's perfect. So it's usually pretty cold. It was cold as all could be in Ohio in November. I'm sure it's pretty cold in Chapel Hill, and it's going to be much nicer weather. So hopefully the boys get out there and enjoy a few days.
Yeah, they should. And one of these years when we're out there, I'd love to go. I've never been to Hawaii, but I think that'd be so much fun as a fan to go see it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your Saturday. I will say, I hope the boys get up to speed, because I'm looking at this December schedule, and you got Bama, Tech, LaSalle, Florida, UCLA coming up. That's dog days of December.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, though. I'm glad we play that kind of schedule as a fan, and we need to win, not all of them, but a couple of them like we did last year. I think it will matter with seeding later on. Build some confidence going in the ACC. So, I will say our defense in the second half, some of it, they missed some open looks they were making in the first, but that's how we have to play, I think, with this team, is forcing turnovers, getting in passing lanes, getting deflections. When they throw the ball in the post, we need our guards to be super active, like be able to go and impact that post move and get some steals or deflections as they try to pass out of the post.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've got a model, and I think we've got the personnel to do it. It's just different than how we've played in the past, and so I'll be curious to see how that continues to evolve over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it shouldn't go understated. And again, I keep saying the last thing, but it's also nice. It doesn't, we seem to be so deep on the perimeter, and we honestly play 4 guards at a time most of the game, and then sometimes 5 if you count Withers. He's kind of a guard forward. I don't ever see the guys. It looks like they're in great shape. I don't ever see anyone just sucking wind and like having to get out. Now, bless his heart, Baycott was amazing for us, but there was times where Baycott's like, hey, like I can't play 35 minutes. And luckily with Washington, he and Van Leuven are sort of interchangeable, and so are the guys on the perimeter. So if anyone is at all winded, we'll plug someone fresh in. We got a guy coming in right now. So I haven't seen anybody tired at all season. Even in the Kansas game, I didn't see anybody sucking wind. So I love that about our conditioning.
Well, I think it's a major focus with Hubert in the offseason and the preseason. He obviously wants us to play fast, and you can't do that if you're not in shape. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we seem like we can get up and down and doesn't impact anybody.
Yeah, which is nice. All right, go Heels. Go enjoy your Saturday, brother. Appreciate you getting up and doing the show.
Go Heels.